Commander Quan stared at the blue planet through his ship's viewing screen. The intelligence reports lay scattered across his desk, filled with information about the primitive species below. Humans, they called themselves. No faster than light. Travel. Simple projectile weapons. A planet divided into hundreds of warring nations. Perfect, Quan muttered to himself. The Vec Empire had conquered 47 worlds. This would be the easiest yet. Lieutenant Day approached his commander's chair. Sir, all assault teams are ready. Should we begin the demonstration bombing? No need, Quan replied, waving his hand dismissively. These primitives will surrender once they see our ships. Send down the first wave to their largest city. Make it quick. The Vec warriors descended in their gleaming attack craft, expecting the humans to flee in terror. Instead, they found something unexpected. The humans were waiting. Captain Hannah led the first squadron of fighters toward the city center. Through her helmet display, she could see thousands of humans moving with purpose through the streets below. They weren't running away. They were taking positions. Command, this is strange, Hannah reported over the communication link. The humans appear to be organizing a defense. Impossible, came Quan's voice. They're primitives. Begin the assault. The first Vec warriors landed in the city square, their energy weapons charging with a distinctive whine. The humans should have been cowering in fear. Instead, they opened fire. The primitive bullets shouldn't have penetrated Vec armor, but somehow they found weak points, joints, weapon ports, vision slits. The humans had studied the Vec warriors from the moment they appeared and had already identified vulnerabilities. They're targeting our equipment, Sergeant Wu shouted over the battle noise. How do they know where to shoot? Within minutes, 3 Vec warriors were down. Humans moved with deadly efficiency, using the urban environment to their advantage. They disappeared into buildings, emerged from unexpected angles, and coordinated their attacks with precision that shouldn't have been possible for such a primitive species. Lieutenant Minho watched from his position as humans dragged away pieces of Vec equipment. Sir, they're taking our weapons and armor? What are they doing? The answer came 30 minutes later. The humans had somehow figured out how to use Vec energy weapons. Worse, they had found a way to disrupt the Vec personal shields by observing the energy patterns. This is impossible, Hannah gasped as she watched a human soldier fire a modified Vec weapon with deadly accuracy. They've reverse-engineered our technology in less than an hour. But the most disturbing part wasn't there. Quick learning was their attitude. Other species the Vec had conquered showed fear, panic, or desperate courage. The humans showed something else entirely. They showed curiosity. They're treating this like a puzzle, reported Corporal Tyke from his position. I'm watching them experiment with our equipment like they're in some kind of laboratory. Young Yura, barely 18 years old, crouched behind an overturned vehicle with a captured Vec energy rifle. She had watched the aliens use it for 5 minutes and had already figured out the basic controls. Round her, other humans were doing the same thing. Past the word, she called to her friend Jiho. The purple button changes the power setting. The aliens keep it on low power to save energy. The Vec warriors found themselves facing an enemy that adapted faster than they could react. Every tactic they tried was countered within minutes. Every weapon they used was captured and turned against them. Commander Quan watched the battle. Reports with growing alarm. How many casualties? 40% of the first wave, Day replied quietly. And sir, the humans are using our own weapons against us now. Reinforce them, Quan ordered. Send the second wave. Captain Hannah led the reinforcements into the city, but the situation had already changed. The humans had set traps using captured Vec explosives. They had created improvised armor from fallen Vec warriors. Most disturbing of all, they had somehow learned to communicate on Vec frequencies. Attention alien forces, came a calm human voice over their communication system. This is Colonel Sora of the Human Defense Force. You have 30 seconds to surrender before we demonstrate what we've learned from your technology. The demonstration came in the form of a massive explosion that destroyed 2 Vec aircraft. The humans had figured out how to overload Vec power cells and turn them into weapons. Retreat, Quan ordered, his voice shaking. All forces retreat to the northern mountains. As the surviving Vec warriors fled the city, they could hear the humans behind them, not screaming in victory or celebrating their triumph. They were talking, analyzing, planning. Did you see how their armor articulated at the shoulder joint? Energy weapons have a recharge cycle of approximately 3 seconds. Their aircraft are vulnerable to electromagnetic pulse. The humans weren't just fighting them. They were studying them, learning from them, preparing for the next encounter. From his command ship, Quan stared at the casualty reports. In one day, the primitive humans had destroyed more Vec forces than the previous 3 planetary conquests combined, and somehow he suspected this was only the beginning. Commander Quan ordered his remaining forces to retreat to the northern mountains. It was basic military strategy. Pull back, regroup, analyze the enemy, then return with overwhelming force. Every conquered species had given them time to do exactly. The humans were different. "Sir, we have a problem," Lieutenant Day reported from the sensor station. "Human forces are following us." Quan looked at the display showing the mountain range ahead. The peaks were covered in snow, temperatures dropping far below what human biology could survive. Let them come. The cold will kill them before they reach us. The Vec established their temporary base high in the mountains, where the thin air and freezing temperatures would provide natural protection. Their environmental suits kept them comfortable while any pursuing humans would freeze too. Death within hours. But the humans kept coming. Captain Hannah monitored the approaching forces through her scope. Small groups of humans were climbing through the snow, wearing nothing but basic clothing and carrying simple packs. They should have been dead already. How are they still moving? She asked Sergeant Wu. The temperature is 40 degrees below their survival threshold. Maybe they turned back, Wu suggested hopefully. They hadn't turned back. By morning, human scouts had reached positions within a kilometer of the Vec base. They moved through the blizzard like it was a gentle rain, leaving tracks in snow that should have been their graves. Lieutenant Minho captured one of the scouts during a patrol. The human was a young woman named Yura, barely alive from the cold, but somehow still conscious. Her lips were blue, her body shaking violently, yet she managed to smile when they brought her inside. "You made a mistake," she whispered through chattering teeth. "What mistake?" Minho demanded. "You ran to the mountains." Yura's voice was weak, but steady. "We're really good at mountains." Before anyone could ask what she meant, explosions shook the base. The humans had somehow tracked their retreat through a blizzard and launched a coordinated attack on what should have been an impossible target to find. "How did they find us?" Quan shouted over the alarms. "We're in the middle of a snowstorm." Answer came from Corporal Tyke, who was monitoring human communications. "Sir, they're using our own heat signatures against us. They tracked the warmth from our base through the storm." But that wasn't the most disturbing part. Humans weren't just attacking randomly. They had studied the base layout from their scout positions and were targeting specific weak points with precision that suggested detailed planning. They'd been watching us, Hannah realized. While we thought we were safe, they were learning. Our defenses. The human assault was unlike anything the Vec had experienced. Instead of overwhelming force, the humans used small teams that appeared and disappeared in the snow. They struck key targets, then vanished before the Ek could respond. A young human soldier named Jiho led one of these teams. He had grown up in mountains similar to these, spending winters in conditions that would kill most species. To him, this was just another cold day. Team 3 hit the communication array. He spoke into his radio while lying in snow that would have frozen a Vec warrior solid. Team 5, take out their power generator. The humans moved through the blizzard like ghosts, using the weather as camouflage. They had turned the mountain environment from a barrier into a weapon. "Sir, we need to evacuate," Day reported as another explosion rocked the base. "They're systematically destroying our equipment. Where can we go?" Quan asked desperately. They followed us through a blizzard. That was when Captain Hannah made a terrifying observation. "Sir, I don't think they're following us. I think they're hunting us." The difference was crucial. Following implied reaction, staying behind the retreating enemy. Hunting meant predicting where the prey would go and getting there first, as if to prove her point. The next human attack came from the direction they were planning to retreat. The humans had anticipated their next move and were already in position. They're not reacting to what we do, Hannah continued. They're thinking ahead of us. A human commander named Sora had positioned her forces along every possible escape route. She had studied that tactical manuals recovered from the city battle and knew exactly how they would respond to pressure. They'll try to reach the eastern ridge, she told her team leaders. Standard retreat pattern for a cornered force. Be ready. The Vec attempt to break out went exactly as Sora predicted. Her forces were waiting, turning the retreat into a running battle through mountain passes that the humans knew better than their own backyards. This is impossible, Sergeant Wu gasped as he struggled through knee-deep snow while human forces moved around them like they were walking on flat ground. How do they do this? The answer came from another captured human. An older soldier named Kyung who had been fighting in mountains for 20 years. Your mistake, he told his captors calmly, was thinking we're like other species. We don't adapt to our environment. We make it adapt to us. We've been doing this for 200,000 years. As Commander Kwan's forces fled deeper into the mountains, leaving behind equipment and wounded, he finally understood. They weren't fighting an army. They were being hunted by apex predators who had never learned the meaning of the word impossible. The humans weren't just surviving the mountains. They were using them as a hunting ground. Commander Kwan knew his forces were losing badly. Humans had outfought them in the city and outmaneuvered them in the mountains. He needed to understand what they were facing before his entire army was destroyed. Capture prisoners, he ordered Lieutenant Day. Want to know how these primitives are defeating us? The first prisoner was a human soldier named Jiho, captured during a supply raid. He sat calmly in the interrogation chamber, showing no fear despite being surrounded by alien technology and weapons. Tell me about your military training, Kwan demanded through the translation device. Jiho smiled. Which part? The part where we learn to fight, or the part where we learn to survive? Both. Well, every human male must serve in the military. For at least 2 years. We learn to use weapons, tactics, survival skills. But that's not the important part. Captain Hannah leaned forward. What is the important part? The important part is that we've been doing this since we were children. My father taught me to hunt when I was 8 years old. My grandfather fought in 3 wars. My great-grandfather survived something called the Great War, where 50 million humans died. The numbers stunned the Vec interrogators. 50 million, dead in a single conflict, yet the species had survived and grown stronger. Your species fights wars that kill 50 million individuals? Day asked in disbelief. That was just one war, Jiho replied casually. We've had hundreds of them. The Second Great War killed even more. Then there were the smaller wars, the civil wars, the revolutions. We've been fighting constantly for thousands of years. Kwan studied the historical data they had extracted. From captured human devices, every human nation had been forged through warfare. Every culture had warrior traditions going back centuries. These weren't soldiers following orders. They were the products of a species that had weaponized survival itself. The second prisoner was a woman named Sora, captured when her reconnaissance team was ambushed. She was older than Jiho, perhaps. 40 human years, with scars that spoke of many battles. Tell me about your planet, Hannah requested. What is it like? Sora laughed, a sound without humor. Our planet has been trying to kill us since we first stood upright. Ice ages that lasted 100,000 years, volcanic eruptions that blocked out the sun, earthquakes, floods, hurricanes, diseases that wiped out half our population. Yet you survived. We didn't just survive, we learned to thrive. Every disaster made us stronger, smarter, more adaptable. We turned a death world into our home, Lieutenant. Minho brought up climate data from the human planet. Sir, their world experiences regular catastrophic events that would extinct most species. Massive storms, temperature fluctuations, seismic activity, and they live through this naturally, Kwan asked. They don't just live through it, Sora interjected. We use it. We predict storms and use them for power. We predict earthquakes and build stronger buildings. We predict disease outbreaks and develop medicine. Every challenge our planet throws at us becomes a tool. The third prisoner was the most disturbing. Kyung was an older soldier, perhaps 50 human years, with gray hair and tired eyes that had seen too much combat. "You want to understand us?" he asked before anyone could speak. "Then understand this. Other species fight to win battles. We fight to survive." "There's a difference," explained Quan ordered. "When you fight to win, you have objectives. Take this territory, destroy that target, achieve this goal. When you achieve your objective, you stop fighting. But when you fight to survive, you never stop. You can't stop, because the moment you stop fighting, you die." Sergeant Wu pulled up biological data on human physiology. "Sir, their entire bodies are designed for endurance. They can run for hours. Without stopping, their bones are incredibly dense. Their muscles recover from damage faster than any species we've encountered, because we had to be," Kuhn continued. "Our ancestors were hunters who chased prey across continents. We would follow an animal for days, weeks, if necessary, until it collapsed from exhaustion. Then we would kill it and eat it." The implications hit the Vec interrogators like a physical blow. Most galactic species had evolved as prey animals, developing intelligence to hide from predators, negotiate with them, or flee from them. Humans were the predators. "Your persistence, hunters," Hannah whispered. "The best that ever existed," Kuhn confirmed. "We don't kill our prey quickly. We chase it until it can't run anymore, till it makes a mistake, until it gives up. Then we move in for the kill." Corporal Tyke reviewed the battle recordings from their encounters. Every human tactic suddenly made sense. They weren't trying to win quick victories. They were wearing down the Ek forces, learning their patterns, waiting for mistakes. "They're hunting us," Tyke realized. Every engagement, every retreat, every attack, they're not trying to destroy us quickly. They're learning our behavior. The final piece of intelligence came from intercepted human communications. A human commander named June was giving orders to his troops, and his words chilled every Thek who heard them. "Remember, we don't need to win every battle. We just need to outlast them. They're not adapted for long campaigns. We are. Keep pressure on them, study their responses, and wait for them to make fatal mistakes." Commander Quan stared at the intelligence reports spread across his desk. They weren't fighting soldiers. They weren't even fighting warriors. They were being systematically hunted by apex predators who treated warfare like a science and survival, like an art form. For the first time in his career, Quan understood what it meant to be prey. Commander Quan finally understood what his forces were truly facing. The Vec Empire had conquered 47 worlds, each inhabited by species that had evolved as prey animals. They developed intelligence to hide from predators, to negotiate peace, or to flee when threatened. Humans were completely different. They were the predators. Lieutenant Day brought up the biological analysis on his screen. "Sir, look at this data. Human physiology is designed entirely for hunting. Their eyes face forward for depth perception when tracking prey. Their bodies can maintain steady movement for hours without rest." Captain Hannah studied the information with growing horror. Their entire skeletal system is built for endurance. Running, they can chase prey across vast distances until the target collapses from exhaustion. "That's exactly what they're doing to us," Sergeant Wu realized. "They're not trying to defeat us in single battles. They're wearing us down over time." The evidence was everywhere once they knew what to look for. In every engagement, the humans had shown patience that defied military logic. Other species fought to achieve quick victories or minimize losses. Humans fought like they had all the time in the world. A perfect example came during the siege of Supply Base 7. The human forces, led by a commander named Tyke, had surrounded the installation for 3 days. They didn't demand surrender. They didn't launch massive attacks. They simply waited. "What are they doing?" asked Corporal Yura, monitoring the human positions through surveillance equipment. The humans took turns sleeping while others maintained watch. They ate small meals at regular intervals. They showed no signs of impatience or urgency. They were treating the siege like a normal part of their daily routine. "Their persistence hunting," Quan said quietly. "They know we'll eventually make a mistake or run out of supplies, so they wait." When the Vec forces finally attempted to break out, the humans were ready. Not with overwhelming firepower, but with perfect positioning and an understanding of how cornered prey behaves. Lieutenant Minho watched in fascination as human soldiers predicted every Vec movement. They know exactly what we're going to do before we do it. A captured human soldier named Jiho explained it simply during another interrogation. Your species thinks like prey animals. When cornered, prey always tries to escape through the path of least resistance. It's been hunting prey for millions of years. We know how you think. But the most disturbing revelation came from studying human pack behavior. Unlike the Vec, who fought as individuals following orders, humans fought as a coordinated hunting pack. During the Battle of the Eastern Ridge, human forces demonstrated this perfectly. A young soldier named Sora led a small team against a much larger Vec position. Instead of attacking directly, her team moved to positions that would funnel the Vec into a killing zone. Team 2 moved to the north slope. She spoke calmly into her radio. Team 3 blocked the southern exit, going to drive them toward Team 1's position. The Ek forces found themselves moving exactly where the humans wanted them to go. Every attempt to escape was anticipated and blocked. The humans weren't fighting a battle, they were conducting a hunt. They're hurting us, Captain Hannah reported. With growing panic, like animals driving prey toward hunters. Another human tactic that terrified the Vec was their use of wounded soldiers. Most species would evacuate injured personnel to safety. Humans used their wounded as bait. A Vec medic team approached what appeared to be an injured human soldier lying in an open area. The soldier, a young man named Kyun, was clearly hurt and seemed helpless. When the medics moved to capture him, human snipers opened fire from concealed positions. The wounded one was conscious the entire time, reported the surviving medic. He was communicating with his pack, telling them exactly when to attack. This behavior made no sense to species that valued individual survival above all else. For persistence hunters, the pack was everything. Individual sacrifice for group success was not just acceptable, it was instinctive. The Vec learned that humans would continue fighting even when severely injured. A human soldier named June had taken multiple energy weapon hits that should have killed him instantly. Instead, he used his remaining strength to detonate explosives that destroyed an entire Vec squad. They don't fear death, Sergeant Wu observed. They fear failure to eliminate the threat. But perhaps the most chilling aspect of human predator, nature was their patience with weakened prey. The Vec Empire was used to quick conquests, followed by negotiated surrenders. Humans showed no interest in negotiation. They want us extinct, Quan realized during a strategy meeting. It's not defeated, not subjugated, extinct. They see us as a threat to their territory and their pack. Lieutenant Day pulled up evolutionary data on human development. Sir, for most of their history, humans shared their planet with other intelligent species. Neanderthals, Denisovans, several others. All of those species are now extinct. What happened to them?
What happened to them?
The final piece of evidence came from intercepted human communications. The human commander was giving orders to eliminate fleeing Nek forces, and his words revealed the true nature of their enemy. Remember, wounded predators are still dangerous. Don't let any of them escape to regroup. Hunt them down to the last individual. We can't allow them to return with reinforcements. Commander Quan stared at his tactical display, watching red dots disappear as his forces were systematically eliminated. For the first time in that military history, they were not the apex predators on the battlefield. They had become the prey. The final battle took place in the ruins of the human city where the invasion had begun. Commander Quan's remaining forces were trapped. Surrounded by human soldiers who had learned to counter every advantage the Vec possessed. Only 30 Vec warriors remained from the original force of 300. They crouched in the destroyed buildings, watching human patrols move through the rubble with deadly efficiency. The humans had turned their own ruined city into a perfect hunting ground, Captain. Hannah checked her weapon's power level and whispered to her commander, "Sir, we're almost out of energy cells. Humans have been using our own supply lines against us." Around them, the evidence of human adaptability was everywhere. Improvised weapons made from that technology. Armor pieced together from fallen alien warriors. Medical stations where humans had treated wounds that would have killed any other species and returned to battle within hours. They learn faster than we can adapt, Sergeant Wu observed, watching a human soldier use a modified deck energy rifle. With perfect accuracy, they've become better at using our own weapons than we are. The human forces moved with quiet confidence through their destroyed city. They weren't angry or vengeful about the damage. They had simply incorporated the rubble into their tactical advantage. Turning every collapsed building into a fortress, Lieutenant Day monitored human communications and reported the impossible. Sir, they're coordinating 17 different units across the entire city. Their communication system uses our own captured equipment, but they've improved it. Improved it how? They've eliminated the signal delays and increased the range. Somehow, a primitive species has made our technology work better than we designed it. The human commander who finally entered their position didn't look like the monster Quan had imagined. He was young, perhaps 25 human years, with calm eyes and a gentle voice. His uniform was a mixture of human and Thek equipment, perfectly adapted for urban warfare. Commander June, he said in perfect Thek. Language, learned from captured translation devices. I want to talk. Quan raised his weapon, but June made no threatening moves. He simply stood there, surrounded by his soldiers who seemed relaxed, despite being in a combat zone. You've learned our language, Quan said suspiciously. We learn everything, June replied simply. It's what we do. Your technology, your tactics, your weaknesses. We study everything until we understand it completely. You're primitives, Quan snarled. You don't even have space travel, June nodded thoughtfully. That's true. We're barely into space. You made one critical mistake when you came here. What mistake? You assumed that because we're primitive, we're weak. But Commander, we're not primitive because we're backward. We're primitive because we've spent our entire existence learning to survive. Captain Hannah looked around at the human soldiers surrounding them. They were exhausted, wounded, using equipment that was centuries behind that technology. We're still standing, still fighting, still refusing to give up. Every advancement we make, every tool we create, every weapon we build, June continued. They're all designed for one purpose: to keep us alive when everything else wants us dead. A young human soldier named Sora stepped forward, carrying medical supplies. She began treating wounded deck warriors without being asked, showing the same efficiency she used in combat. We don't hate you, she said quietly, while bandaging a deck soldier's arm. You're just another predator that wandered into our territory. We've dealt with predators before. We've conquered 47 worlds, Quan protested. And how many of those species fought back? June asked. Quan thought about it. Most species had surrendered after the first demonstration of their military power. A few had fought brief, hopeless wars before accepting defeat.
Ow.
None had fought like this. None of them, he admitted. Because they were prey species, explained another human soldier named Kung. They evolved to survive by avoiding conflict, hiding from predators, or submitting to superior force. We evolved differently, Lieutenant Minho, who had been monitoring the conversation, finally understood. You evolved to be predators. Not just predators, June corrected. Apex predators. The kind that never stops hunting until the threat is eliminated. A human engineer named Tyke was working on captured deck equipment nearby. In the time it took for the conversation, he had completely reverse-engineered a deck communications device and was already improving its design. You want to know why we're the galaxy's most lethal warriors? June asked, watching his engineer work. It's not because we're stronger or smarter or better equipped than you. Then why? Because we're the only species that never learned how to quit. Every other race in the galaxy fights to win battles, to achieve objectives, to force surrender. We fight to survive. After 200,000 years of practice, we're very, very good at it. As Commander Quan prepared his final report to the HFY Command, he understood the terrible truth. They hadn't invaded a world of primitives. It stumbled into the territory of the universe's ultimate predators. Recommendation: immediate. Withdrawal from Sol System, he dictated. Reason: we are not the apex predators we believed ourselves to be. humanity is. The humans watched the surviving Vex ships leave their system, then quietly began rebuilding their city. They had learned valuable lessons about space travel and energy weapons. Soon, they would be ready to visit their neighbors among the stars.